Oh, everybody, let me know if the sound is weird. We're having issues because I'm hearing myself in the background, but I can't get my phone to mute, and I want to make sure I can give you another view when I get close to the knitting machine. So hello and welcome to everybody. I'm Tori, the Crafty Girl, and I have been doing a lot of content around the knitting machine. There have been a lot of questions on how to use it, what it even is, what you can make with it. And so I thought in this time together today, we do a little trial run of going live so I can answer some questions for you while I'm live and show you how to create, a project, a super simple project. So I want to pause for a second and I want to make sure that everyone can hear me and you're not hearing an echo or anything like that, because I'm hearing a little bit, but if it doesn't bother you, we're going to carry on. I am joined today by the Anchor 24. You will see they are over there in the chat. They are my husband, partner, and best friend of over 21 years. And he'll be answering questions as we go through. That way, when we get into the actual knitting machine portion, I can focus on that and he'll answer any questions that he can. So first of all, you may have seen, and thank you all so much, by the way, for joining. If you're watching this in the replay, the agenda will be in the comments. In fact, or in the description, it's in there right now. But I'm gonna walk you through what is the knitting machine. Feel free to pop those questions into chat as well, and I will answer them as we go, or I'll let you know we'll cover them in a little bit. So if you're here, hopefully you're familiar with the circular knitting machine. Now, there are a number of different brands and styles and sizes and everything like that. I'll give you a pretty basic one. So this right here, this little gal, this is a Centro 22. It's also been referred to as the rabbit because of the little ears right here. And this one is 22 pins. There's also bigger machines. And today I'm actually going to be working with this machine right here. This is the Addi 46. Now, the difference between these two brands, Centro and Addi, I have Centro in the bigger one as well. But the difference is, number one, price. So if you've looked at purchasing knitting machines, you may see that there's a giant price difference between, if you're looking on Amazon, between the Centro and the Addi. And that's because the quality is totally different. So with the Centro machines, the little plastic ones, they're plastic. They're actually considered toy machines. They're great to get started on. So you don't have to invest a lot of money. You can spend like $20 and get one of the little ones. But eventually, if you get really into it like I am, you'll want to upgrade to the more expensive versions. The Addi 46 is the larger version, and I think she can go anywhere from on sale from $150 to $250. At the holidays, the price definitely goes up. So just be aware. Don't pull the trigger unless you find it below $200 if you're going to go that direction. So price is an indicator. Some of your machines have counters, row counters on them. I do recommend that. It makes it a little bit easier to keep track of your projects. So that's another difference there. Now, with the circular knitting machine, I'm actually going to pop in now to the view of the machine. So let's see. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for joining. Oh, before we get too far in, I did want to share my latest project. So I just finished this today because I wanted to wear it during this live. So this is made with the circular knitting machine with my gal right here with the Addi 46. And this is just a couple of panels and a couple of tubes and then some crochet finishing on the bottom. And that's it. And it took a few days to do, but you can make things like this. And there's so many things. I'll show you some more examples as we dive in. But let's see what happens when I add the camera. Okay, good. I just want to make sure there's no reverb. I don't want to blow out your eardrums right now on this Friday night. So here is kind of the gist of what a circular knitting machine looks like. Each machine is going to have a different set of pins or needles, depending on who you talk to. They all have a little, different vocabulary. With this one, I mentioned this is a 46 pin. This one right here, like I said, is 22 pins. And with the machine, not only do you have the number of pins, you can use this for tubes. You can use this for panels. As you get more advanced with your circular knitting machine, you will start to use panels. And it scares people so much to dive into panels, and it does take work. But with this little machine right here, like I just showed you, you can make a sweater like I'm wearing. In fact, you don't even need to see the back of me, I'm realizing. All right, we're gonna do something a little different. Okay, sound issues. Okay, well, we're just gonna leave it on. You're gonna have to see me double. That's it. You can see the side of me. But with our machine here, you also are going to have, it's going to be numbered on here. And again, I was saying my vision is I can't see these numbers. It's red on red. There's no way I can see that. That's going to be important to you if you start to get into more of the designing aspect, because you can do a lot of things with dropping stitches and creating ribbing and creating designs on your machine. So that's what those numbers are going to help you when you work with those. I don't actually even work with those at all. What I do is I'll mark my pins with black permanent marker. And so you'll notice here, get this in front of you so you can see it. So this right here, I have marked with black permanent marker, and that actually helps me as I'm going around with the machine, as I'm knitting, because this is going to help me know when I'm getting to the end of a row. Even though this machine has a counter, it's something that I started with the cheaper machines, and it really does make a big impact for me. You can also mark other pins if you use them on a regular basis. It really just depends on your needs. But I have it marked here. You'll see there's a white pin, and then right next to it, there's a black pin. And with the Addy specifically, you're going to have 3 black pins in a row. And these 3 black pins actually are connected to the counter that I have. I've seen some digital counters, I think on newer Addies, maybe a little bit more expensive. I don't want electric because I'm afraid it's going to die and then I'll have to fix it, which you can buy additional counters. And then again, worst case scenario, you can just count by hand. Although if you have a brain like me, you'll need to write everything down. So that is kind of what the machine looks like. Also, your machines, I mentioned you can do tubes and panels. So in fact, let me grab my other baby. Okay, so this one is the Addy 22. So this is the Addy 22 pin. Again, she's pricey. So the Addy products are worth it because she was damaged, then I had to return her twice. But once I got the part fixed, she is a dream. And I use, even this 22 pin, I use all the time. This one, the Addies come with clamps to clamp down on your table, which is amazing because the Centros don't. And you'll find that they kind of wiggle around everywhere and it can make your production a lot harder. Or it can impede your creativity because you're just battling with it. And you're going to battle with your machine no matter what. I'm sorry, I have to be the bearer of bad news, but these circular knitting machines, no matter how good you are, you're gonna have issues because that's the nature of the process. But there are things you can do to prevent that. So you have your, what I was getting at is you have these little, right here, these little clicks here. That is to signify whether you wanna do a tube or a panel, and it all depends on your project. So this project that I made here, this was a combination of 2 tubes and then panels, nope, backwards, 2 panels for the bodice and then tubes for the sleeve. So you can do a lot of different projects with this. I would recommend the 22 pin machine. If you're going to do things like home decor, pumpkins are really popular right now. I haven't pulled mine out of storage yet, but pumpkins are popular. You can make those with this. You can make smaller socks. We made a bunch of hats for the NICU that we donated. So you can do that with a smaller size. And then little stuffies. If you have anyone that loves stuffies in your life, you can use this for that as well. So that machine is great for a lot of those little projects. The big one I would recommend if you're going to be doing more like clothing items, blankets, that type of thing. Yes, yes, absolutely, Maury. There's lots of issues that can happen. The parts, the problematic, that you have to maintain it. So if you sew it all, so if any of you are sewists, you know that you have to maintain your machine to make sure that it is in good working order, or else your projects will just frustrate you to no end. Same thing with your circular knitting machines. You do need to make sure that you're regularly maintaining them and also treating them with respect, because they're gonna help you create beautiful things. Okay, so that is kind of, I think that was everything. I'm going to put my clamp back on here so then my machine's working, because we will, I promise, we are going to make a project together. We're going to make a project together. This is the crank. Okay, so you just turn it like this, and that will make it crank around. When it gets back to those black pins, you'll hear that noise, and that's just the counter, the row counter going off. I think I covered everything that I wanted to on what the circular knitting machine actually is. And by the way, it's been around forever. So there's a lot of conversation. I see people saying, oh, it's only been around for a few years. And oh, that's false. It was like the 1800s, the first circular knitting machine was created. And it was actually for the military to make socks while they were out on the front. I read an article. It was really interesting. So they've been around forever. There are some that are metal, older versions, and they're really cool. So circular knitting machines are really fun and cool to use. Okay, so we're going to dive in, and I'm going to show you how to make a beanie. We're going to do basically a two-tone beanie. It's reversible essentially, so you'll be able to have one color on one side with the color from the inside as your brim, and then flip it over, and then you'll have another color. It's honestly one of the easiest projects you can start with when you're first starting out, because you don't have to know what waste yarn is, okay? Waste yarn is something important when you're working on your projects, but we will not need that today. We will need a few tools though. So your machines typically will come with most of the tools that you need. These are the tools that I'm going to be using. So always a darning needle. This one has a little curved end, which I really love. That makes it easy to pick up your stitches. I also use wool needles to hide my stitches on many projects. This is just a little tiny baby crochet hook with a pointed end. It's actually metal. And I use this when I have to fix stitches because, again, as I said, you will probably have to fix some stitches. And then you do need to have a crochet hook. I would just say it helps when you're fixing any issues that you have. Also, when you're finishing, maybe as you get more advanced, you'll be able to use one of these to create, like with this top here, I just did the crochet around the bottom of the cuffs and then also the bottom of the sweater. So these are some tools that you'll need. Also, these. You can also use bobby pins. You can use a lot of things that you already have around the house, but stitch markers are going to make a big difference as you work on your projects, depending on the project that it is, though. Okay, we're going to make a hat, but I wanted to poll everybody to find out what colors you wanted. So I don't typically wear big beanies. I like this style. I like the fisherman style. So this is what I typically wear, but I know not everyone likes the fisherman style. Some people like the bigger style, and that's what we're going to make today. So I have these three colors pulled. Oh, I didn't even talk to you about yarn. I wanted to talk about yarn because with the circular knitting machines, they're pretty finicky when it comes to the yarn that you choose. So they do say that they're rated for like four weight DK yarn or smaller, and that's what they typically say. But as you work with your machines, the cheaper ones, you're going to find have a lot more issues with the thicker yarn. The Addy tends to work pretty well with most things. This yarn right here was a beast. It was a beast. I had so many issues, but I'm glad I finished it. This yarn is my favorite yarn to use. Not sponsored at all, but I love it. It's Karen Simply Soft. Okay, you can find this in so many different colors and shades. I mean, look how beautiful this colorway is here. It's fantastic. And it's soft. It's great against your skin. And since I do a lot of clothing items, I use this yarn a lot. Also, you can get it pretty much anywhere you are. I am absolutely a supporter of small businesses that dye their own yarn and that make their own yarn. We just visited a wool mill in Buffalo, Wyoming, and it was amazing. And I bought a couple of skeins, but they were $28 for one thing, which is worth it. But if you're just making this for the kiddos or for, something that you're not sure if you're going to want to continue, you can go to Joann. It's okay. It's okay. But anyway, the Simply Soft, you can get this even on Amazon. You can buy it in bulk. So what color? So I want to use this pretty color here because I think that it complements this and I love it. So we're going to use this on one side, but then do we go black or do we go white? I mean, I really like the white because the white brings out the color, but I love the contrast. Same thing with this top that I made, like the black with the light. So you let me know. We'll see who gets the most votes here, black or white for the interior and brim of our beanie. Longhorn Country, yes. Okay, we have one vote for white. Okay, we have 2 votes for white. So I'm thinking we might just go with white. See if we can get a third for white. Okay, we're gonna go with white. Okay, excellent, Elaine. Thank you for being the third vote for white. All right, let's see. Are these, the other thing is making sure we have our center pull ready to go. Here we go. Now, one other tool that I didn't actually bring up, but I think it's important. You can see this is the yarn that I just used for the cuffs of my sweater today, a basket. Now, it may seem weird to have a little basket, but you're going to want to make sure that you have enough pooling yarn so that you don't get improper tension. So one of the problems we hear a lot with who's we, me, and all of my voices. One of the problems I hear a lot about is with tension, and you'll see it. If you don't have proper or consistent tension throughout your project, you're going to have some pulls and tucks, and it's just going to not look the way you want it to. So what I found is by having a basket like this, I have this one too that I got at the thrift store that I love. I keep it under my machine and then I'm able to pull and get like a pool of yarn. With the bigger machines, or with the, sorry, not the bigger, but with the Addy machines, there's no tensioner on it. So you are the tensioner. You're going to be the one that's feeling the yarn, touching the yarn, and deciding what is going to be the proper tension for you. So I'm going to tell you, basket comes in super clutch. Oh no, I'm so sorry for your loss. Well, and thank you for joining us today. It's the first, so this is the first live that I've done from this crafting perspective, why we had problems with the sound and kind of the setup. So thank you for joining. I do want to do more of these. I would love to do more as we get into more of those advanced projects. So tonight's kind of a trial run. So I appreciate all of you and especially dealing with the issues as we learn together. So it's time to make our hat, y'all. We're going to start. I'm going to do, usually you use a pattern, okay? One thing I would recommend to all of you, if you're looking, whether you're beginning or even if you've been doing it a while, join Facebook groups. And I know it may seem, if you're not on Facebook, you may say, why would I do that? Because there are so many knitting machine groups on Facebook and lots of free patterns. So there are some that I make patterns. Yes, and I do sell them on Etsy, but I don't do a lot of them because there's a lot of basic patterns that you can find for free. And I really recommend searching these groups because a lot of times you're going to find them or YouTube videos. So you're going to find these YouTube videos. There's so many amazing makers and designers in this community, in the knitting machine community. So definitely recommend checking those out. I am very active in those groups. In fact, we have a group called TheCraftyGrrl. fashion house. I think that's what it's called. And I show you different like fashion and accessories, clothing and accessories is my focus. But what I was getting at with that is I don't use patterns for a lot of things. I kind of just wing it and see how it goes. I do a lot of measuring. But for this beanie, I'm going to do 120 rows. That's pretty standard. This yarn, however, the Simply Soft, it stretches a lot. So usually I would say do a gauge swatch, make sure that it's the right size that you want it. But since it's a big old beanie, it honestly, it doesn't really matter. I'm not going to tell you if you're just starting out to do a gauge swatch and all that. No. Let's just dive in. We're going to dive in. So we're going to do 120, but we don't want to do it down the middle. We don't want to do one color down the middle. What is that? 80, no, 76. Oh my gosh, it's 60. I promise I know math. But we're not going to do 60 and 60 because then if it's off at all, when you fold it in half, you're going to see that other color. We want to see the other color as an intentional color, not as like an accidental peekaboo. So what we'll probably do, let's see, if it's 120, we can do 80, 90, 1, 10, 20, 80 and 40 seems a little. So let's do 70 and 50. Okay, still doing my math. So we'll do 70 and 50. And I want the white to be what folds up on the beanie. So we're going to do, what did I say, 70 rows of the white. I promise we are going to dive into this. So I have this center pull pulled out, but like I said, I have it in my basket, and then I've pulled out a bunch so that it's pooling as we go. All right, so let's go all the way back to here. Now make sure that we can see this. Okay, hopefully this doesn't make any noise. I'm going to change the angle just a bit. Make it so you can see what I'm doing. I don't know if that changed it at all. Okay, so to start your first project, first thing we need to know how to do is to cast onto your machine. If you just put this on and start knitting around, I've seen a few people do that. Nothing's going to happen. It's just, in fact, let me show you because that way you don't have to do it. So if I just put this like this and start knitting, what you're going to start to see how all of this just falls right out, because that doesn't work. You have to cast onto your machine. Oh, sometimes yarn. There we go. All right, well, now let me show you the right way to do this. So again, we have that black marked little hump right here. And I always cast on to the right of that. So I'm going to put my yarn tail. You can leave as much as you want. I have, I'm conservative with my yarn because I don't want to waste it. So typically, I won't leave that much. But if you pull it down and touch your table, I feel like that's going to be great. And you want to keep it under this little hook here, under this pin. I hear the hubs coming. Sometimes he does that when I can't hear me. So you're going to crank and then go behind the next pin. Let's get down here. Let's get down. We need to figure out a better layout for next time. Okay, so we went under the first pin, behind the second, in front, behind, in front. And then this is all we're going to do to cast on. We're going to do this all the way around, behind, in front. Don't miss any. Go slow until you get really proficient at it. Okay, then when you get back to this white pin right here, now you're going to use your the yarn guide. So this is your yarn guide here. Make sure it's behind that one. And then you're going to go in to the yarn guide. Make sure that it's here and then here. And then you're going to pop that closed. Okay. So we just started the process of casting on. Now we need to continue around. Before we do that, we need to set our row counter. If you don't have one on your machine, I would grab a tool to help you, a notebook. Oh, right. Hi, I have two cameras. So I always have a notebook available because I take notes like crazy. So we just want to have a notebook if you don't have your counter. But I am going to start the counter here. Okay, we're going to start it at 0. And as I mentioned, we're going to do 70 rows of the white. Okay, I'm going to pause for a second, see if there's any questions on this part. I will go around one more time and show. Actually, let's go around about 5 times so you can see what happens when you cast on correctly. So I'm going to hold the yarn in my left hand. Again, remember, you're your own tensioner with the Addi machine. If you're using one of the Centros, they do have the yarn tensioner right here that you can put your yarn through. I will tell you, you can use that, but nothing works as well as feeling the yarn and understanding what the yarn is doing. So I'm just going to hold, I'm lightly holding it. I'm not holding onto it, like I'm not gripping it. I'm just, oh, you can almost see. Okay, you can see I'm going to hold onto it lightly like this as I go around. And then that way I can see too, if any knots appear, which sometimes I do with yarn, right? If you're playing with yarn, you're going to have knots. So we can make sure of that. And then also that our tension, you know, it's a new skein, so it's going to have a little bit of, it's going to stick a little. So we don't want that to happen. So let's go around holding the yarn gently. And then the first, oh, there's a knot now. That's okay. It'll be fine. Okay, and this is a perfect example to show you. So there is a knot in this yarn. And if I were to continue without going slowly, it might have hurt my machine. And then what was I saying as I go around? Oh, the first couple of rounds, you do want to go slow. A lot of times it will give you a little bit of pushback. And there's nothing wrong with going slow, folks. I know a lot of people want to use the little drills to make their projects, and I bought one. I have the little attachment. I don't like it because I don't feel connected to my work. But if you're doing a lot of pieces, it could definitely be beneficial. Okay, so we're gonna keep going around. So that's our second row. So now we can go a little bit faster. Okay, and so I need to pull out a little bit more yarn so it doesn't get locked up. Okay, so we just did 5 rows, and then you can see, as opposed to the first time I showed you without casting on correctly, it's starting to create our beautiful tube. And that's what we're doing. I don't know if I mentioned this, but we're going to be using the tube setting, no waste yarn. We're just going to cast on directly like we just did. Once we get all of our rows done, we're going to be able to just cinch the ends and tie them off and then hide the tails. And then you're going to have this really quick beanie. So that's why it's one of the easiest and fastest and best projects to start with. Okay, so let's keep going. We're going to go 70 rows with this. This yarn works so well, I may not have a tucked or dropped stitch. So we'll force it to happen because I do want to show you how to fix it. Because as I mentioned before, no matter how good you are at the circular knitting machine, you're going to have it happen. It's just inevitable. It's just what happens. So let's keep going. Feel free to, again, pop any questions as we go through. And I'm going to back up so you can see the whole process in action. There we go. Pulling out more yarn. What else did I have on the list? Okay, cool. Just making sure I cover everything I told you I was going to cover. So So yes, where is everyone watching from? That is a great question. I saw a couple. I saw Maryland, or was that a person? I'm trying to watch the chat at the same time. My ADHD is like insane when I'm live. Actually, it's insane anyway. Oop, standing on my yarn. And there's so many things, as I was mentioning. If you stick around a little bit, once we're done with this, I'll show you a few other things you can make besides like a sweater like this. There's so many things you can do with your circular knitting machine. So we are in Spokane, Washington. Our weather is pretty beautiful right now. Northern California, nice, nice, nice. Oh, yay, K-Fry, thank you so much. Hopefully it's been helpful. And like I said, if you have any questions or anything, you can pop them in the chat, or you can message me anytime and I'll try to answer as I can. And that sound is normal, by the way. That sound is totally normal. It's what's going to happen. And the thicker your yarn is, it's going to sound a little bit more. That's why I typically slow down when I'm working with thicker yarn, but this is like butter, this yarn. And I am going to show you a color change. So don't worry, that's another important thing you should know how to do with a tube. Color changes with tubes are even easier because you get to hide the yarn tails in between. If you're doing the beanie, you get to hide it easily. That's why this project, again, another reason why it's such a great beginner-friendly project. I'm trying to get it to, sometimes when you go fast, you can force an issue, and it's just, when you want an issue, you're not going to get it. Okay, I want to force an issue. Is it going to be easier to show you with the white? Yeah, it'll probably be easier with the white. All right, so what we're going to do is something a little dangerous. We're going to pop off one of these loops really fast, which that's going to be like if it gets stuck on itself and it gets tucked underneath or it gets dropped, a couple of things can happen. You'll notice that you might have double loops together, but you will be able to notice it. With the white, I'm not sure, but we will give it a go. So I'm just going to take it off. There we go. So it's still not live. Like if you pull on it, it's not going to fall out. Okay. But it is, if you go around again and you don't pick it up, then it will fall out. So I'm going to just mark this row. And it still didn't cause an error. Okay, we're going to do it a little differently. When I try to make a mistake and I want to, it's not working. Okay, so we are going to take the loop off in live mode. There we go. That'll be easier. I'm going to mark that. So now this is a live stitch. So this is what it looks like. Probably want to see this if you can. Sorry, the angle is so bad. Uh-oh. There we go. Let me show you my finger here. So you can kind of see my finger down here on the right-hand side. It is not connected to your machine at all. So if you do not fix this, every single stitch is going to come out. and you don't want that to happen. So if that happens, you want to fix it. And that's what we're going to do together. But I marked it with that yellow so you can see it when it comes back around. So let's. And thank you so much again to Bill, the Inker 24, for moderating tonight and for helping me get set up. He is the MVP. All right. So to fix, and sorry, I'm yelling. So I used to be a trainer, and I had to project to large groups of people, and I would come home and Bill would always tell me, he's like, inside voice. But luckily I have this whole basement down here. This is my craft studio. And so I can be as loud as I want, except when I'm live with you, because I don't want to, hurt your eardrums. So sorry in advance. So with our dropped stitch, I always like to fix dropped or tuck stitches on the left of the yarn guide. So over here on this side, it's just easier for me because you need to have a little bit of flexibility with this little pin here. So first thing we need to do to fix this is we're going to take off the loop. And this is where it can get tricky with this machine because you have your yarn guide in the way. Okay, so we're going to take that off. I'm going to go under this way so you can see it. My hand doesn't get in the way. And then we're going to, so if you had a tuck stitch, let's say there was a tuck stitch back here, we'd go back until we found the live loop. And then this is where you're going to take your crochet hook. Okay, let's see if you can see this. And then you're going to put all of those live loops on your crochet hook, including the loop that you want to make sure doesn't continue to drop those stitches. And then to fix it, you're going to take each loop. Okay, so on the right, you're going to pull the loop over. And you're not seeing any of this. Hold on one second. Again, the angles. All right, so what I'm going to do, folks, I am going to take my yarn winder off and see if I can move my machine over a little bit. Bye-bye, yarn winder. I want to get a much better view here. Because if I'm teaching you something and you can't see it, it doesn't make sense. Okay, so let me go back to what I was, in fact, I'm going to take the crochet hook so I can show you what it looks like. So each of these loops here, we just stretched them out so they weren't intertwined. We're going to stick our crochet hook through all of them or underneath all of them. And then we're going to put that loop on there. Okay. So now to fix this, we're going to go from the right and we're going to pull that loop over. And I trimmed my nails today, so this is a challenge. And then we're going to pull through like that. Pull that over, pull through. And you're going to do that all the way. Okay, until we get to the very last one. Okay, and then we're just going to pull that loop back over the machine, maybe. Don't want to break anything. Here we go. Oh, sorry. And then you're just going to pull your yarn down. And that's how you fix it. So we are going to continue around. Make sure the next one, the loop goes all the way down. Okay, and we're back. Actually, one more. Okay, and you give it a little tug and you can see everything is perfect. So I'm going to take that stitch marker off. We no longer need to have that. But that is a really important tip. I do have some better videos. Again, I know that the view here is not that great, but I do have some better videos that will show you how to fix a dropped or tuck stitch. But it's definitely something you will need to know. Like I said, with this top right here, I think I had 20 tucked stitches yesterday within like 20 minutes. But yet I persevered because I love this color combo. All right, so let's keep going. I wish I could have music on, but I can't because it's YouTube and I don't want to get a mark for using copyrighted music. machine is music, right? Like this is music. Cool. All right, we're at 33 rows, 34 rows. Yeah, I can tell my tension is a little off. Oh, actually, it looks fine. Okay, let's keep going. What did I say? 70. Oh my gosh, I should have wrote it down. I like to move my body while I do it because I stand. So that's enough. Nope, don't get distracted, Tori. I was going to go into another story. I like to stand, but I know that the Hubs, he likes to sit when he's using the knitting machine. And yes, he does know how to use the knitting machine, and he is very good at it. What's that?
A tuck stitch.
I'm trying to get one to happen. Oh. Yeah, I just did a drop stitch, but a tuck stitch is a little different. So I'm trying to make one. See, it's one of those things when you use the right yarn with the right machine, sometimes you will not have issues. So it's hard to fix them. So I just showed how to fix a drop stitch. Now I need to force a tuck stitch. I've never actually forced a tuck stitch. Isn't that weird? I forced a drop stitch, but a tuck stitch is when both of them, both loops, kind of get knitted at the same time. So you end up with two. I don't think I have. What I can show you is when we're done with this beanie, I can actually use some of this leftover scrap yarn that was really hard to work with, and I'll get a tuck stitch in no time with that. So stay tuned. If you're still here at the end, just let me know and I'll show you how to do that. Unless we have one. Now I am noticing some tension issues. For me, that would really bother me. But essentially what that means is you'll see that like right in this row, and I know it's really hard to see, but this row right here, it's not laying as flatly as the rest of it. So I must have pulled from the center without leaving it in my hands, probably because I was multitasking. So that does happen. But I think with this top, my tension was perfect. Probably because I had to go so slow and fix so many issues, I did not want to have to start again. Okay, we're getting close. Now, when your tube gets long, when it starts hitting the bottom table, you do want to fold it up. If you don't, that could actually force drop stitches because now you're adding pressure to the yarn and it may not sit firmly. So all you have to do is just take it, start rolling it up like this. A lot of people, when I first started, I looked at every single tip and trick imaginable and I did it. Some of it you don't need, but sometimes you need weights depending on your yarn. And so a lot of people would recommend taking something like these little clothespins and then popping those on to give a little bit of extra weight there. Now that I've been doing this for quite some time, I found that was not necessary for this. For this yarn right here, it was really hard to work with. Having weights on there would definitely have made a big difference, but for just something simple like this, not necessary. trying to dance at the same time, get a little exercise, you know. Okay, we're so close. Okay, and I might call an audible. So let's see. Originally we were going to do 120 rows, but this yarn stretches out. I didn't do a gauge swatch. So if I want to do 110 instead, which I think might work, I just did 60. And then I can do 50. Yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to do 60 and 50 because this yarn is so stretchy, which is good because we just reached 60. So now it's time for a yarn change. So yarn changes are not scary. And again, when I first started, there were all these tips and techniques to try to get perfectly, so you don't have these jogged yarn changes. And you know what I found works the best? Just tying a nice tight knot. That's it. Surprisingly, I tried all the things. There was like wrapping around. There was just a lot of different tips and tricks. But I'm telling you, if you just tie it once it comes off of your machine, and then you tie it in the back and give it a nice little tug, that works the best. And that's what I typically do. And I've done a lot of yarn color changes. Especially I did a black and white project that had a lot of yarn. I did like checkers. That was a lot. And it worked just fine. Okay, so we're going to do a color change. So to do a color change, the first thing you need to do, the scary part, is cut your yarn. So we're going to cut our yarn, and again, I don't like to waste a lot of yarn. I want to make sure I have enough that I can tie it off. This is going to be on the inside of the beanie, so you're not even going to have to hide this. It's going to hide itself. But you also don't want to make it too short because, especially with yarn like this, it's really slippery and fine. The knot could come right out. Even if you double, triple knot it, sometimes it can come out. So I'm going to leave it, I don't know, is that 8 inches? So I just cut off my yarn. And now let's take our next color. So this color is Karen's Simply Soft in Vintage or Retro. What is it called? Oh no, this is called Times Square. But look at the colors. Apparently I have an affinity for these colors together. I am not a purple fan. I do love pink, but you know what my favorite color is? Yellow. Yellow. In fact, I made a cardigan. This cardigan back here. I made this cardigan. And she has the beautiful yellow at the bottom. But I was feeling, you know, fall, darker colors. Okay, let's see if I can, let's take bets on if I'll find the yarn tail or the yarn center. So one of the tips, put both hands in, use your finger, and whichever side comes out, there we go. There's our yarn barf. Now we're gonna, I'm just gonna have to unravel that just a little bit so that we don't have knots. So we'll do that. So what is everyone else working on? Is anyone working on some projects for this weekend? Circular knitting machine or not? I'm trying a new craft this weekend. Perler beads. I'm doing some perler beads. I've never, ever done perler beads, but I've been working on some hexapuff designs. And if you're not familiar with hexapuff designs, with the circular knitting machine, you can create these little puffs and you can make things out of them. Like this. There's so much you can do. I'm just like, I'm such a nerd when it comes to this. So you make these little puffs like this, okay? And then you can stitch them together in these hexagon patterns, like little flowers, and you can make really big projects. So I actually made my dog. This rug. So this is with the circular knitting machine. This is with that 22, the smaller size. And I just did, it's like little hexagons. And she loves this rug and I love it. And so I started working on designs for the hexapuffs so that we can make some more rugs. And as I did that, someone mentioned to me, oh, you know, you could probably use perler designs. So I went down that rabbit hole and now I want to play and make some perler designs, which I've never done. Okay, we're almost done. We almost have the end of the yarn. I promise we're going to get this color change done. Ooh, I love amigurumi. Oh yeah, with the small Addy. I have seen a lot of really, I mean, amazing, amazing amigurumi style with the knitting machine. So awesome. Okay, so I have a giant pool down here. Hopefully it doesn't knot up, but we're gonna do a yarn change. So make sure, let's get a better angle so you can see this in action. First thing we need to do, open up the yarn holder, and we're gonna pull our yarn down. So remember, this white pin was the pin we started with. So this is where I'm always going to make my yarn changes, just so that it's even all the way around. It's just something, it's a habit that I've gotten into. It makes it a lot easier. Okay, so we pulled that down. Now we're going to take our new yarn color. We're going to put it in the yarn guide. And this one is going to go to the right of this next pin. Okay, so you have your two yarn tails are hanging out together. They're friends. Now you're going to hold on to those. Okay, hold on to both of them. I find that helps the best, because you're going to give it just a little bit of tension. So then when you crank, you make sure that that second color gets hooked under the pin. Okay. And now we're going to go around slowly. We're going to get back here, but I'm not going to tie it just yet because I want to show you. I want to stop right here because one of the things in the groups, I see a lot of folks. Can you see? You can barely see that. There's like a little gap right here between the yarn. Okay. Oh, actually, if I pull this, you can see it. So there's a gap. That is okay. That is not an issue. That is not a problem. That gap is okay to be there. But what we're going to do is tie a light overhand knot. Okay, so just a light overhand knot, that's it, and drop your yarn tails. We're not going to do a double knot yet. The double knot is at the end, and that's how you can fix the alignment. Since this is all going to be, we're not doing like stripes or anything like that. It's not really going to matter, but this is the way you would do it. And then when we take it off the machine, we just need to make sure that we secure it with that second knot at the right tension, right? So that it doesn't fall apart. Oh my gosh, of course, babe. You're working on which soccer match to watch. Okay, so let's pull out. So we did 60 in the white. So that means we're going to do 110. So we're going to do 50 in this color. So let's keep going. All right, and any questions, let me know about color changes or anything like that. Oh, it's so pretty. And hopefully by our next live, I will have the format figured out. So you don't have to look at me just do this the whole time. Let's go fast. Let's go fast. And then again, as it gets longer, just make sure you're rolling it as you go. Oh, it's so gorgeous. Isn't it beautiful? It's kind of Eastery, but okay, we finally got through that pooling of yarn. Sorry, I'm looking at comments. Oh yeah, I totally messed up. I thought that I set the time for 5 and it was 4:30, so I was not I was prepared, kind of. I was prepared for the most part, except the setup. Typically in the past when I've been live, I haven't used a second camera to show what I'm doing because it's just been more like sitting and talking. So this was a learning curve. Yes. Oh my gosh. And the color changing yarn, another way to add, some really cool designs to your work without having to do a ton of color changes. Because, like, especially with even this, these color changes right here, I think they're magical. They're beautiful. They're a little random. I love it. But if I did this with with the panels and did all of these color changes, it would just not be fun to try to hide those at the end. All right, we're getting close. Yes. Oh, great question, Kimberly. Absolutely. So yes, I'm doing less rows. So typically 120, that was what I had intended. It's what I typically do for most of my DK yarn with my 4-weight yarn. But because this is so stretchy, when I use this, I find there's a huge difference in size. So I probably should have just gone 100, to be honest. But I did, like, where's my favorite hat? I did the fisherman style, this one, and I think I just did 90 rows. And so this is 90 rows with the Karen Simply Soft and Orange. So if I pull that down, yeah, it wouldn't quite be long enough to be a big beanie. So yeah, we're doing a little bit smaller because of the Karen yarn. Oh, and someone else asked, what are we making? We are making just a very simple, basic reversible beanie. That's what we're making. Or two-tone. I say reversible because it is reversible, but it's more like two-tone. And then if you're ever unsure of your measurements or your stitches, I'd say measure. I measure everything. But with this one, we're just going to go for it. Oh, wait, what I did 60. Oh my gosh, now I lost my count because I didn't write it down. So I did 60, so I want to do 50, which gives us 110. Okay. Cool. Yeah, as someone with ADHD, the hubs is like my, I don't know, protector. He protects me from myself, so I remember to eat, that I remember to like take breaks. I don't spend all night down here. He's pretty cool. Okay, we're on 93, so we're pretty darn close, y'all. So close. So if you like these lives, just let me know. Comment, like the video. I enjoy going live. I love it. It gives me a chance to connect. And if you like it, then I will continue to do it. Okay, we're so close. 103. 103. Yes, is gonna be a big one. Two more rows. Back to our little black needle here. Okay, we did it. We made our rows. So now I showed you how to cast on without waste yarn, how to knit, right? How to just knit your pant or knit your tube here. We also fixed a drop stitch. We did a color change, and now I'm going to show you how to cast off with a darning needle. So again, this is a really great method to use if you're going to be cinching the ends of your project. For example, again, showing you one of the little puffs. So this is one of the simplest designs ever. It's just 16 rows without waste yarn, and then you cinch both sides together and you get this cute little puff like this. So when you don't have to get fancy, like if you're not working on clothing items and you don't need anything like a fancy finish, this is a great way to cast off. But I do need my needle. I recommend the curved. These are metal, so I think I bought these specifically on Amazon because I prefer the curved. It makes it so much easier getting the loops off of the machine. Now, when it comes to how much yarn you leave, how much yarn tail, it all depends on how much you're going to be, needing yarn at the end. Because we're just going to cinch both sides of this beanie, tie it together, and that's it. We don't need a lot. We don't want to waste yarn. No wasting yarn. It's little. In fact, you want to see a nightmare? So here, this is a full bag of yarn straps. I keep them because you can use them in all kinds of projects and stuffing. And I do not want to contribute to the landfill with my hobby. But a tip. So when you're trying to figure out how much yarn to cast off with, it's going to be the easiest. Something super simple. Just take your yarn. Just wrap it around one time. Wrap it around one time and then cut it. That way you know that you at least have enough yarn to pick up every single loop. When you pull it, you're going to have a lot of extra though. But when you're first starting off, I think that's a really good way to figure out how much yarn you'll need. And I'm just going to cut that. Okay. So now we have our yarn tail. We're going to take our yarn, okay, out of this thing. I just lost my train of thought. Out of the yarn guide. And then, I don't know why I just put that down. I'm trying to do this because I always cast off left-handed, but that's not going to work because you won't be able to see what I'm going to do. Okay, let me try to get my arm this way. I'm ambidextrous in many things, and the knitting machine is one of them. So when you cast off, as I crank, what's going to happen? Okay, this pin right here, once you crank past it, this is a live stitch. So if you do not pick this stitch up right here and you keep going around, it's going to fall off your machine and you're going to lose all the work you just did. So we're going to take our needle. We're going to pick up that loop. Okay. There's another one here that's off the pin. So we're going to pick that up as well. Okay, just give it a little tug. And then you're going to continue to crank. Again, I would recommend when you're first starting out, only release a couple of stitches at a time. It just makes it a little bit easier because what I normally do is I crank it and then I just take my left hand and I pick them all up really quickly. But that takes a lot of, it took a lot of time for me to master that. So I would say just as protection, only do a couple at a time. And this, there we go. So this is all we're doing. We're just casting off with a darning needle. One of the easiest methods. And like I said at the beginning, this session today was really for the beginner. So that's why a lot of these things I wanted to give you some tips to help you, because it can be frustrating when you're first starting out. You're going to make mistakes. It happens. But being able to fix those mistakes or know tips to help prevent them, I think always makes a big difference. Oh, we're almost here. Okay. So we have the almost finished beanie. We only need to do a couple more things. Put my gal down so she doesn't get hurt. Okay. I just heard my dog. Today is the 6-year anniversary of the adoption of our dog. Our 6-year adoptiversary, I guess you would call it. Okay, so see how long this is. This Karen just works up so, it's so soft though. So one of the things that we need to do first is, before we do anything else, remember we did that color change. So we're going to go on the inside of our project. And here's where we have that loose, that loose knot. And then you're just going to give it a little tug just to tighten it up so that it's the same size as the stitches around it. And then you're going to add a second overhand knot. And because this yarn is actually really slippery, I don't do this at as tight as I can. I do a third knot. And then I tighten that one just so it doesn't slip at all, because that will also impact your tension. So see, now you can see it's a very clear color change and you don't have the jog that you might see. Okay, so now that we've done that, we don't even need to cut that yarn. Guess why? Because it's going to be hidden in the beanie. Now, because it is a different color, do want to try to make sure it's up with the colored portion of our beanie. Now, there's a couple ways you can finish this. Really, it depends on what you're comfortable with. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to cinch this. Okay, so cinching this around. Hi.
Virginia sent you a $3.99 super chat.
Oh my gosh, Virginia, thank you so much for the super chat. The hub's just, hey, you should come here so I can introduce everybody to you.
Nope.
So he came down here, but he would not come over. Thank you so much, Virginia. Appreciate it so much. You know what that is? That's another skein of yarn right there. Yes, yes, yes. So we're just going to, oh, and I didn't even tell you, I forgot. When you're casting off, just make sure you don't miss any loops. I think I may have said that. So we're going to keep pulling. Okay, and it gets this little look like this. And then the easiest way to do this is what I do. Other people do things differently. No one is wrong. Okay, I always want to, when it comes to making, crafting in general, a lot of people say there's one way to do it. Guess what? There's not. There's like 100 ways to do it. No one's wrong. Everyone does their own way, and it's great. So for this, the way that I do this is I make sure that I pull it together. If I needed to do a very clean finish, I'd actually stitch all the way around this circle right here. That would be the way I typically do it. But if you're just starting and you just want something super simple, I would pick up, okay, from the side, go all the way through. Okay, and then I would take this, and you can actually just do a knot. But I love doing the knot this way. So I'm just going to take the yarn around. Ooh, no. I'm not going to like this. Hold on. Hold the phone. Hold the phone. It's been a minute since I've made a beanie with color. Okay, you know what I want to do instead? Should do the white side. Okay, let me do the white side first. It'll be easier. Okay, so again, we're just going to cinch it. Just when you cinch it, just make sure that you are rolling it with your fingers, because if you don't, it's going to do this little pucker thing, and that will not lay nicely. We want it to lay nicely. So I can show you on this side. But you do want it to be as tight as possible. Now for a beanie, I should probably finish it correctly. Just thinking it's going to be visible. If you were going to put a, puff on the top of it, or a poof, or whatever it's called, whatever that thing's called, then it wouldn't really be that important, but we definitely, I'm going to show you how I would typically finish it. So what I would do, and you don't want to get anything down here, right? You're not trying to get that yarn. You're just going to pick up around the circle. Just go in a circle. I'm trying to do this with my phone in the way. Okay, and we're going to pull that. Again, make sure you can see this. So we're going to just go around the circle. Again, another reason that curved darning needle comes in so handy. And then you just go back into where you came out. And as you do that, you're going to find that the hole eventually will disappear. And that's great news. But I'll show you the super simple way on the other side. You can even finish it on the inside too. Okay. We're good. Okay, so see now there is no hole at all. Okay, there we go, better lighting. So there's no hole in here, but we do need to lock it in place. So you can make a knot. Making the knot on the inside is probably the easiest, especially if it's a reversible beanie. If it's not reversible, it wouldn't really matter. You could just make a knot right here. But because this is reversible, let me open this side back up if I can. Oh, it's not going to be happy with me doing that. Okay, well, it's white, so it's not going to be that noticeable anyway. So I'm just going to go right through there. Actually, let's go on a smaller section. And then we're just going to tie a knot. There we go. So now you can't even see the knot. There's no hole here. It's great. But I mentioned to you earlier, I like to use a wool needle. And this is another reason for that. Because now we need to fold our hat in half. Let me zoom out a little. So we're going to fold the hat. Oh, and I didn't even call it out, but I did stretch this when I took it off of the machine. So stretching it is important. Okay, so I'm going to take my wool needle with the yarn tail. I'm going to poke it through, and we're just going to go all the way to the other side without snagging any yarn. But this is why I like the wool needle, because it is long and it has that pointed end. Okay, so now watch as I pull that tail out. Okay, and now we are going to fold it in half. We're going to use this white tail right here as a guide. So now we have that little end coming up here, and it looks like it did go through yarn. Don't want that to happen. Okay, so she's folded in half. Now we need to cinch this side. And this is what I typically do. I typically tie these in a double knot together. You can stitch them together as well, which also works. There we go. Oh goodness, I hear my neighbors. They're like, their dog's going a little crazy. Okay, so this is purple here. Okay, this is purple here, and this is pink, and these are blue and white. It's not going to look good if you start to go in a circle, if you can see it. But I do want this to be stitched a little bit stronger. So we are going to go back through. Down the center to this side. And I'm just going to pick up a couple of additional stitches just to make sure that it's stitched in place, if that makes sense. But I don't want it to be too noticeable. So I just want to pick up kind of like one. Oh, hard to do that with this. Stay here, wool needle. My brain is not firing on all cylinders right now because it's realizing I need food. Okay, let's add. See if that'll work. You see it at the top? Nope, good. And again, since this is the same color, it's not going to be that noticeable. And I am just going to tie that on here. Okay. Oh my goodness gracious. High-rise jeans, but they work. So now we just need to hide our tails. That's all we need to do at this point. If you were going to add a pom-pom, you could definitely do that. But we're just going to hide our yarn tails. And because it is sealed off here, we're just going to hide them on the inside. So I'm just going to poke that through. Make sure it doesn't show on the white side of it. Okay. That's probably good enough. Snip that. Put this in my yarn basket. Oh my goodness, I am knocking everything over now. Sorry, folks. Okay, we're going to hide this one. Sounds like there's a hound dog out there. I love a hound dog. They just are a little loud. Excellent. So now this, come back over here now, is what we have. Remember, you chose the white. One thing that as you start to play with this, I realized I don't know if I like the white with the pink showing through on the other side, but you live and you learn. So now if you just wanted a really long like toque style, you have this. Okay, so this is this. You have the little bit showing here. You could also have that contrasting cuff at the bottom and then add a pom-pom at the top. Then you also have the option of flipping it this way. And now you just have a brim that is this color with the white, and you can also add a pom-pom. So there are so many things you can do with the circular knitting machine. The beanie is by far one of the easiest projects to start with, and I recommend playing with it, trying new styles, new colors. You'll see that there are a lot of different ways you can make beanies out there. Again, this was just kind of the abbreviated cinch the top, but you can also do like a cat beanie, like, oh, show you my gal. So you can make the little, cat ear beanie. These are actually really simple as well, but this adds a little bit more because this now has, you're going to need to do crochet and waste yarn, some a little bit advanced concepts, but you can do it. You can do it. It just takes a little bit of practice. So, okay, let me make sure we covered everything. We talked about the machine, we cast on, we knit, we changed colors, we fixed a drop stitch, we cast off, we made a beanie together today. What other questions do you have for me before we wrap up today? Let me know also what you would like to see in another live. I would like to do one on panels because I know that is one of those challenges that a lot of us have had.
Tucked stitch.
Oh, is the person that
explain how? You don't have to show them.
Oh no, I can show. If someone is still here that wants to see the tuck stitch, I can try to recreate that. So let me know in the chat if you are still here that wanted to see the tuck stitch. I'll have to try to recreate it. But I do, like I said, I think I do have some shorts that would show you how to do that as well. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe and like this live. It makes a huge difference. Again, thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it, Virginia. It makes me feel happy, special, especially on this Friday. And it's been awesome having all of you join me. It's been really fantastic. Okay, yes, Kimberly wants to see tuck stitch. Okay, we're gonna make it happen. We are going to make that happen. So we're not, okay, and I need to take this hat off. It's not warm. My hair is all staticky now. That's okay. You don't care. This isn't a fashion show, right? Okay, let me get her clamped down. Excellent. Okay, let me find the remnant yarn. Here she is. Okay. This is what I have left over from one of the skeins that was a nightmare to work with. So we're gonna see if we can get this tuck stitch to happen so I can show you that. Okay, we're not gonna use waste yarn or anything. We're gonna go full out. Oh. In one of these lives, I'll give you a tour of my office too when it's fully clean. So again, I'm just doing standard cast on, and then I'm just going to knit a bunch of rows until I get a drop stitch, because I will get one, or a tuck stitch, excuse me. I'm not even going to set my counter. Okay. Oh, but it does need to go in here.
That great granny said, Centro, it gets loose stitches halfway through. What am I doing wrong?
Oh, you may not be doing anything wrong. The Centros are so challenging to use. I had so many issues with them that I got really frustrated, and that's why I ended up getting the Addies. So with the loose stitches, I'd have to see more what specifically is happening. Just to be able to give you the proper advice on that one. Okay, let's see if we can. I'm going to go really fast. And of course, why is this yarn working just fine today? Is that one? Is that one? Oh, I think I got one. It's like fishing. Did I get one? I kind of did. Let's see. Let's just keep going. Oh, I did. I got one. I've never been so excited for a tuck stitch in my life. Okay, I'm just going to mark it and then go around again because I want to show you. Oh, there's another one. Okay, we're just going to keep going. We'll get a lot of them. Lots to choose from. I knew this yarn wouldn't let me down with the errors. Okay, so I'm going to show you all of the issues. Oh, wow, there are a lot of them on this project. So what I will show you, in fact, I'm going to see if we can do it this way. Okay. Oh, sorry, I'm going to make you blind. That's not good. Let me see what I'm doing now. Here we go. Here's a great example of a tuck stitch. So you have this double, well, now you can't see it. Where is it? Ah, this one's better. So see how there's two right there. There's two loops that are literally on top of each other. If you kept that, it's going to create this bigger hole on your final project, and that is not what we want to happen. So we want to fix, and we're going to fix that one because I saw that one.
Randy also sent you $2.
Oh, great. Thank you so much.
That hat is beautiful.
Thank you so much. Okay, let me see if I can get this to, I forgot how I had this on my thing now. Oh my gosh, that noise has got to be awful too. Okay, I think that's as well as I can get this for the view, but I do want to show you how to do this because this is such a good, important skill to have. All right, I'm going to mark this stitch. And as I mentioned before, whenever I'm working on fixing a tucked or even dropped stitch, I always do it on the left. I always do it on the left side here of my yarn guide. It's just easier. So I'm going to go around till I get back to the one I identified. So I'm going to go really slow until I get here. And then as it starts to come on top of this pin right here, what we need to do to fix this tuck stitch is we need to pull the whole live loop off. Okay, so take whatever you have. You could use the curved darning needle, but you do want to get this live loop off. But keep in mind, once you take that off, this is now live. And if you were not to fix it, the whole thing would come unraveled. Okay, can you see this? Yes. So then we're gonna loosen this up. So then see, that's where that tuck stitch is. I'm gonna undo these stitches. There we go. Now this one also, because I went so fast, they should also not crisscross. So see how they're crisscrossing here? That is another issue. It should not look like that. But right now I'm just going to show you how to fix this tucked one, which is why going slowly is so important. There's my... Yeah, this is what happens when I try to do things off the cuff. Okay, where's our loop? There's the loop. So now, crochet hook. Pretend like these are not crisscrossing. They should not be crisscrossing. And I'm at the end, which is not where I want to be. See, and I dropped the stitch and it's going to come all the way out. Okay, I salvaged it. No, I didn't. Okay, but anyway, you kind of get the gist when I'm not trying to force this to happen. It's usually easier. So you do the same thing. You pick up the loop. So you just loosen all of them and then pick up the loop. And then you're just going to take from the right side. Gosh, it's so hard to do this when I'm right side over and pull through. I'm going to do another one because I don't like the way that this one is demoing. I would rather show you, I'm going to show you a better one to make more sense because this one, it's twisted and going really fast is again, something that would make your projects not salvageable in some cases. Okay, so let me see. I'm sure I know I have more than one tucked stitch on here. I do like to get them down a little bit further. Ah, I found the perfect example. Okay. This one should be a little bit easier to do, I think. We're going to go with that one. Okay, so if you can see where my finger is, you'll notice that there are these two loops on top of each other. And I think this one's going to be a twisted one as well, because I think two of them happened at the same time. But we are going to show you how to fix that. Is that the one? Yeah. So just like before, first thing is it, and this one has two loops on it, so it started to get another tuck stitch. So we're going to pull that off. And Kimberly, let me know if this is making sense at all. Putting my whole body into this doesn't want to come off. Okay, so that one's off. There we go. Okay. Oh, that's my. Oh, wow, that one had three loops on it. Oh my goodness gracious. Why are you battling me? There we go. Okay, so again, we want to unravel these stitches here that are on top of each other. So we're going to pull this out a little bit, keep my finger in place so I don't lose the loops. Okay, and then this, is that our final loop? Nope. Okay, so now this is a lot clearer. So this should be knitted right here. You have your loop here. Oh my gosh, sorry. knock this over. You have your live loop, and then you have your 4 loops right here. So we are going to, again, take our crochet hook, put it under all of those loops. They should not be crisscrossed. This is because of how quickly I did it. Okay, so now this is what it would look like. We have our live loop right here, and then these are the additional loops, the additional rows that we knitted since it was tucked. You may not have this many rows. If you only, let's say you saw it was tucked and you caught it on the next row, you wouldn't see it like this. But I think it's, for demo purposes, it's a lot easier to see when you have multiple rows. So then we're always going to go, okay, to the right, pull it over the live loop, then take the live loop over your hook. Again, now this one becomes the live. This one's the live loop. So to the right, you're going to pull that one over, and then you're going to do this. Pull that over and do that. Pull that over, do that, pull that over, and then do that. And now we have our live loop one more time, and we're going to put that, and then there's an issue because I didn't get all the yarn off. But then this goes back on the machine when I don't drop it. Again, I'm using a different hand than I normally. And if it wasn't so messed up, because I did it quickly to try to demo, it should be a nice clean when you tuck it down. You should not have the double tucked stitches there. So hopefully that demoed a little bit of the process, but it's the exact same process for drop stitches and tuck stitches. You just need to catch your drop stitches quickly so that they don't fall, go all the way off the machine. Yeah, and honestly, I mean, that's why when I say tucked and drop stitches, I typically say them interchangeably. They are two different things, but fixing them is the exact same thing. I know that there are other people that can, when they see it happen, they'll fix it right away. My brain can't do that because if I start doing that, then I forget what I was working on, and then I'm going to lose every track of everything I was doing. So I found that works the best for dropped and tucked stitches. The dropped stitches, that's more where the live stitch falls off and doesn't pick back up and get knitted. So now you just have that, you can see it. You'll start to get a hole in your work. But the tuck stitches, that's when you have 2 on top of each other, essentially 2 yarn loops knit together into one. And then what happens, you don't have any loose stitches, but now you have 2 connected, and it creates the issues with your work. Okay, good. I'm so glad. Sorry, it's at that time where my stomach is yelling at me and I'm getting klutzy, and I just wanted to show you if I could. So thank you again so much, everybody, for joining. We'll do another one of these. I'll probably do it on another Friday because this works really well after work. I can just pop on over here and say hi to everybody. And it was such an awesome show. I appreciate all of you. And yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe and check out all the other videos I have. And I'm always here for questions if you have them. So that is it, everybody. Happy Friday. And until next time, see ya. Dee dee.